course, but I recognize that there's a cottage industry out there of media that we are often the beneficiary of, that talk about our sport around the clock, but I sure wish it would never become personal.
That was a warning shot, a subtle message that the league was watching. It's about fathers defending their children in the public eye. It's about how far people will go to protect their name and how far others will go to stay relevant. LeBron James may have drawn the first boundary, but Stephen A. Smith, he crossed every single one. We've seen apologies that weren't really apologies. We've seen viral jabs, personal insults, and even innocent stars like Caitlin Clark dragged into the storm. At this point, the feud isn't just personal, it's generational. Stephen A. hasn't said his last word, LeBron hasn't made his final move, and the next chapter, it might be even louder than the last. So the only real question left is, who's going to blink first? Stephen A. tried to clarify days later, saying he meant media narratives, not the players. But the damage was done. He had alienated NBA fans, WNBA fans, and even his own colleagues. And still, no apology. This wasn't just a feud anymore. It was a media meltdown, a generational icon versus a media juggernaut, both too proud to back down. Boom. Explosion. The backlash was instant. ESPN hosts started distancing themselves. Former WNBA players came to Clark's defense. Fans were furious. Chinese Agwu Mike tweeted, "You do not come for Caitlin like that, period." Breanna Stewart posted a photo of Clark hitting a deep three with the caption, "Media hype doesn't break records, skill does."
I think I was so upset when LeBron James wasn't at Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I still can't believe that wasn't a big enough story. It's supposed to be your brother. Now I understand, Bronny James, just a few months ago, had the heart ailment, collapsed at USC, rushed to the hospital. Thank God he's okay. And I understand LeBron James spending time with family.
And it hit hard. Then came Michael Wilbon, who didn't hold back. On Pardon the Interruption, he said, "I'm tired of this bull's tea. This isn't journalism, this isn't sports, this is ego theater. We've got real games going on. And this is what we're talking about?" Dan Le Batard chimed in next, calling the whole feud two grown men acting like 7-year-olds.
Which leads obviously to you and Stephen A. Hey, legit, that feels like a moment that had been brewing for a long time.
He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now.
Oh yeah.
When one of the greatest players in NBA history locks horns with the loudest voice in sports media, you know it won't stay quiet for long. LeBron James has spent over 2 decades dominating the court, building a legacy no one can deny. "I misspoke," he said the next day on First Take. "That's on me."
The Olympics. I remember people were blowing up my phone since the first segment of the show when I talked about him at the memorial service, okay? I didn't mean to say he wasn't in the building. I was told he was in the building. You understand? But we saw a whole bunch of players out there. We didn't see him. Why? I'll let him answer that one day, if he so chooses. This to be a reincarnation of Chris Rock and Will Smith. And let me state for the record that while we bring up that, let me assure you it wouldn't have gone down like that. I would have gotten my ass kicked. Because had that man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately.
LeBron, meanwhile, kept quiet, at least in interviews, but on Instagram. That's where he landed the knockout blow. But what came next was pure chaos. In a late-night radio segment, Stephen A. made the mistake of dragging Caitlin Clark into the conversation. He said, "If you think Bronny's rise is all about LeBron's name, you better be asking questions about Caitlin Clark too. That media machine is just as powerful." Boom. Explosion. The backlash was instant. Chinese Agwu Mike tweeted, "You do not come for Caitlin like that, period." Breanna Stewart posted a photo of Clark hitting a deep three with the caption, "Media hype doesn't break records, skill does." Even Stephen A.'s own ESPN co-host Molly Karam awkwardly shifted in her seat the next morning on First Take and said, "Let's just not drag Caitlin into this mess. She's earned her spotlight." But the internet had already turned. That means he's fair game.
Who got personal? LeBron. He's lying when he says that I attacked his son. When he came up to me courtside at the Lakers-Knicks game, he was lying then. He threw me off guard because he said, you can't be pooping on my son, because we over FCC Airways. You can't be doing that. I didn't know what he was talking about, so it threw me off. Had he came up to me and said, what the hell are you doing talking about me as a father? I would say it's because of what you were doing with your son on the basketball court for public consumption. That's fair game.
And with that one sentence, the NBA's most powerful figure fired the first shot in a media war. Stephen A. had been criticizing Bronny James for weeks. He said Bronny wasn't ready. He questioned his stats at USC. He asked why someone averaging under 5 points per game was suddenly a top NBA prospect. The message was simple. Bronny didn't earn this. He got here because of his father, and that cut deep.
Stephen A. is calling LeBron a liar, which I have not seen him do a lot of. Like, that seems like an escalation. Stephen A. liar on television. I don't think that's something he does all of the time. I think that is very strong as we continue to push the boundaries on these relationships, and as Stephen A. gets rewarded for all the things that he is, and as LeBron goes on McAfee and they create content between all of the shows and try to get integration between all of the shows, you get LeBron saying, yeah, sure, Stephen A. wants to sit this out. So he says he didn't want to talk about it. Sure. And then he puts him in tighty whities eating ice cream, enjoying that LeBron confronted him during a game. But the childishness in it, beyond I would have swung at him and he would have kicked my ass and all the nonsense that men do when they're being silly around the soap opera.
LeBron posted a clip of Stephen A. boxing in a gym, flailing arms, awkward footwork, everything.
Clean up that cotton, raise him up. Yeah, make it more free. Yeah, push.
The post exploded, millions of views in hours. You've got one of the most celebrated athletes of all time, a symbol of control and legacy, going toe-to-toe with a media powerhouse who thrives on chaos. They're opposites in every way, yet locked in a battle neither one of them can walk away from without looking weak. The NBA may want this drama to die down, ESPN may hope for calmer headlines, but the audience was a media meltdown. A generational icon versus a media juggernaut, both too proud to back down, both backed into a corner with millions watching. And the scariest part? Neither of them is done yet. So what started as a courtside exchange has now turned into something much bigger. This isn't just a story about a player and a commentator, it's about the shifting power dynamics of sports media.
That was LeBron James coming up to me, unexpectedly I might add, to confront me about making sure that I mind what I say about his son. Can't repeat the words because they ain't suited for FCC airwaves. That's what he was doing.
You're talking too much about my son. You're doing too much. That's what LeBron said. And with that one sentence, the NBA's most powerful figure fired the first shot in a media war. And what happens when boundaries are crossed? So let's break down the 10 most jaw-dropping moments in this feud and find out why it may be far from over. When LeBron James walked over to Stephen A. Smith courtside at Crypto.com Arena, it wasn't a handshake. It wasn't friendly. It was personal. No cameras caught the audio. No mic picked up the moment. But the body language told the story. LeBron's face was stone cold. Stephen A. looked stunned. What began as a media critique spiraled into one of the messiest feuds basketball has seen in years. And this wasn't just two men going back and forth. No, it was father versus critic, legacy versus opinion, basketball versus broadcast. LeBron clapped back without even raising his voice. Stephen A. refused to back down, no matter how wrong he got it. Other stars, including Charles Barkley, Michael Wilbon, and even the NBA commissioner, were forced to jump in. This drama exposed raw nerves, real emotion, and the power that comes when the court meets the camera. And buried inside this mess, a deeper story about media influence, fatherhood. And when Stephen A. turned Bronny into a debate topic, LeBron drew a line in the sand. This wasn't about basketball anymore. It was about blood. Stephen A., of course, didn't back down. He went live on First Take and defended his comments, but his tone changed. He wasn't laughing, he wasn't yelling, he was dead serious. "You're the face of the league," he said, speaking directly to the camera. "You know how this looks. You brought your son into this league. That means he's fair game."
Who got personal? Really? And everybody wants to look at it and LeBron has nothing to do with that. He didn't tell JJ Redick to put him in the game. I get all that.
LeBron had never responded to criticism about his own game, not this sharply. But now it wasn't about MVP votes or ring counts. It was about his son. And when Stephen A. turned Bronny into a debate topic, LeBron drew a line in the sand. This wasn't about basketball anymore. It was about blood.